Previously on the Jay and Dan podcast.
I would marry Jay if he wasn't old enough to be my dad. You.
Mm-hmm. It's easy to do a hillbilly. You got the hillbilly teeth, Dan.
Mm-hmm. We got the long one again.
That's what she said.
Mm-hmm. It tastes like someone mixed water with some old cigarette butts and poured some Hawaiian punch into it, and then they came up with this drink.
Very specific. Mm-hmm. What a great tune.
Who sang that? Cynthia Fee.
Yeah, she was a pirate hooker. Mm-hmm. SportsCentre, Toolsy and Andre.
You're listening to the Jay and Dan podcast, brought to you by Mark's Never Iron Perfectly Pressed Shirts.
A dance. A dance. Episode 8 of the... No?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the stench. There's a stench coming from where I'm sitting.
I don't understand.
I thought it was maybe I stepped in poo, but no. No poo.
Dan's smelling his shoes right now, everyone, just to give you a visual. It's the Toolsy and Andre podcast, brought to you by Mark's Perfectly Pressed Shirts.
People love the Andre.
Toolsy and Andre. Speaking of which, I had an interesting Twitter conversation with a viewer. His name was Aaron McKay.
Okay. And
Aaron McKay is working in Alberta. And he's a big fan of the show, big fan of SportsCentre, big fan of the podcast. So Aaron says to me, he sends me a tweet about a week ago. He says, and by the way, if you want to follow Aaron, it's Aaron, AARON _MACKAY. He's got some pretty funny pictures, too. So he says, Jay and Dan, I have a job that requires me to visit everyone's gas meters all day. Give me one challenge, gentlemen.
I saw that, yeah.
Any offer shall be accepted without question. So I tweeted back. I said, take an enormous dump on someone's gas meter. And Aaron replied back, well, sir, you have my word. Best be prepared. They gave me the weekend off, so Monday morning, 8 a.m. Mountain Time, your wish is done. And then Monday, 8 a.m. Mountain Time, I got a tweet that said, hashtag mission accomplished, hashtag gas meter turd.
Oh, my God. Did he send a picture?
And then he said, wasn't sure if you wanted proof or not, even though I would never lie to Toolsy and Andre. I told him we didn't need proof. I believed him.
I've never told it. Again, I wanted to go on one podcast without talking about poop.
Well, it's never going to happen. Why don't you just accept it's never going to happen? By the way, we better crack these.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Yeah, drink along with us. Your beverage of choice, of course.
Oh, that's disgusting.
That's gross. What is wrong with you? You pick the grossest energy drinks ever. Are you trying to kill us?
These are the only ones available at Mr. Sub.
Yeah, like coming in tonight, Dan and I are on the phone, like we're driving hands-free, of course. And Dan's like, yeah, we'll get pizza. We're going to order pizza in the podcast. I'm like, yeah, it sounds good. And then I get in, Dan's got like a sub. Yeah, I got a sub. It's us. I thought there was a Mr. Sub, so I got one. Oh, did you get me one? No, you can have half of this one.
Here, I sent you an email. It said the entire subject heading was no pizza, period. I'm getting a sub instead. Very clear.
How am I supposed to see that if I'm driving?
Okay, so back to the poo story. Again, I think it's been noted I grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
One time we found some bicycles in our driveway. We're like, how the heck did these bikes get here? Anyway, we did some investigating, went down, talked to the neighbors, and I guess these rogue thieves were going farm to farm and picking up different things to transport themselves. So they'd pick up like a bike at one place and then leave it there and then get a four-wheeler at the next place, then go to the next farm. And so I don't know what they took. They took like a can of gas and a bike from our farm. And then we were searching around to see if they had stolen anything else. And our horse trailer was sitting out back, and my dad was like, what the heck is that? And we went over, we looked. One of them had taken a crap on the horse trailer hitch.
Oh, on the hitch?
And my dad was a justice of the peace, and he talked to the cop because the cop came and was searching the place. And he goes, yeah, we see that a lot because when you get nervous, I guess the bowels kick in.
Or is it like their signature? They're like the horse trailer hit bandits. Looks like the horse trailer hit bandits struck again. They got the O'Toole farm this time.
That's where we need Caruso from. Dang.
Looks like this hitch has been on.
This crime scene.
A magical encounter between human and horse.
Something doesn't smell right here at all. Done.
Last week we had, this week we should mention.
Looks like the poop stops here. Done. That show's still on the air?
No, got canceled.
Oh.
No more Caruso.
What's he doing now?
Counting the money he made on CSI Miami.
Yeah, he made a lot of money.
Yeah, he did all right. We should mention our guest this week, Jamie McLennan, longtime NHL goaltender, who now works for TSN as a hockey analyst, and he's on the radio like daily with Brian Hayes on Blue Lunch, right, Mike? 12 to 2 on TSN Radio in Toronto. Very entertaining guy, great
really
guy.
Nice guy.
So he's going to be on the show to talk about his brand new book, The Best Seat in the House. Stories from the NHL inside the room, on the ice, and on the bench.
We have mail bunks at the back of the newsroom where everyone gets their mail delivered. It's the only thing that we call our own. So if I got fired, I could clear out my belongings from TSN in approximately 3 seconds.
Right. 10 years at the network.
We have a tiny mail bunk. I've got, I believe, a Sharpie and my earpiece in there.
Perfect.
I'm not deaf. It's just what I wear on air. I don't wear a Whisper 2000.
This man is using an amazing electronic breakthrough that lets him hear a pin drop across the room. It's the Whisper 2000.
I saw Noodle's book poking out from everyone's bunk.
Oh, yeah. Everybody got a copy. You get your copy, Toolsy?
I didn't get one.
Oh, we'll have to talk to Jamie about that.
So hopefully he can sum up the book and just tell me the good bits.
I read it, and I enjoyed it thoroughly, so we're going to talk about that. And then also Natasha Staniszewski, popular TSN SportsCentre anchor, is going to come on to talk to us about a couple of things. You wanted her to come on to talk about the fact she was in Brooklyn last Saturday for the Raptors-Nets game.
That's right. We showed a clip of the Brooklyn Knight was unveiled as the new Nets mascot, and it was a disaster. We showed it on SportsCentre. And as I mentioned, he stole Darkwing Duck's costume.
He looks like a Power Ranger, but
and
like
then,
the homeless Power Ranger.
And then he put his fist into the court. I believe there was supposed to be a big sound effect and a big light show, and nothing happened.
Kids want fuzzy, fun mascots. They don't want a freaking guy in a outfit with a shield.
And that reminds me, so that night on SportsCenter, we showed the top 10 pre-game things, whatever. So it was bad anthem singers and stuff.
Yeah.
And one that I feel bad that we forgot it, and Sens fans were probably hoping it wouldn't come up again, was the Centurion? What was?
Oh.
Wait,
are you talking about the guy
who came to center ice to get the crowd going? Melnick hired this Hollywood actor. He came out.
Christoph, any chance you could look for that?
So, if you just pull up an Ottawa Senators, just YouTube it.
Guy.
It is an embarrassment, and his helmet kept falling off. It was going askew.
Yeah.
You could see that he had his lines written inside his shield.
Yes, that was the best part. Apparently, he was like a Hollywood actor.
Yeah.
Like he was an actual actor of some renown. Speaking of actors, last week we had Matt Cade on from the TSN Draft Center podcast with Craig Button and Steve Dryden. He was excellent. And one thing that a lot of you podcast listeners commented on was that Matt Cade, the host of this podcast, sounds a lot like actor James Woods. So we're going to do a bit of a side-by-side comparison, I guess, Christoph. So let's start with Matt Cade. Well, let's get a Matt Cade clip here.
He's just 15. He turned 16 in January. We're working on a feature on him right now. Actually, that's what I'm doing tonight. I'm in the edit suite working on a feature on Connor McDavid right now.
Okay. So that was Matt Cade. And now renowned film and television star James Woods.
Hey, come on. Hey, get over here. Okay, now you're you, I'm me.
I'm me.
Hey, don't jerk me around, fella.
It's uncanny. And
It
that
is
was from
pretty-
The Simpsons?
It's pretty crazy, eh?
And he's got a reoccurring role on Family Guy.
Right, because the kids go to James Woods High School.
Oh, he's great. This past week, also, Louis C.K. hosted Saturday Night Live.
Oh, is Spartacat the mascot? No, but that's
But it wasn't
different.
him, though. It wasn't him.
No, it was like a crazy senator.
A Roman centurion. Or what?
I don't know.
A senator.
I have no clue.
But Louis C.K. hosted Saturday Night Live, and
Yeah.
he was phenomenal. That is... So he didn't do a monologue. He did a stand-up bit.
In fact, the bit he did with the woman falling down, he did that. That was the opening bit of his act. And I saw him a month ago in Toronto, and that was the first thing he did. And he just changed it a little to go with the hurricane.
So I tweeted, I said, I wish Louis C.K. could host every Saturday Night Live. So 99% in agreement, everyone. And then you get the odd person, what are you talking about? It was the worst ever. I'm like, what?
Why do you're so sensitive? Sensitive people need to get off Twitter. You have 99% of the people in agreement with you, and then you have the one guy and it rattles you all night.
That just bothers me. And another thing that the Twitter folk were in full agreement with was my assessment of Sons of Anarchy.
Okay.
So the last podcast I mentioned how these guys would not scare me at all. They should be selling ice cream from a Dickie D cart. That's how scary they are. And a lot of people said, you hit the nail on the head, Toolsy.
But a lot of people in our newsroom really disappointed with you who, are big fans of
That's a
Sons
daily occurrence, though.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, our crew, the producers, the camera operators, who will soon be robots, apparently. Bell Media is bringing robot camera in and we're not going to have any humans anymore.
Robotron.
Your tie is crooked. Don't forget your poppy. Poppy on. Show commence. Sorry. That was the robot. And then one other thing I wanted to mention is my housekeeper story. Got a housekeeper story for you, Toolsy, and I'm pretty embarrassed about it.
This is intriguing. Okay, first off, how often does the housekeeper come?
I'm embarrassed to admit that I do get a housekeeper about once a month. Not that often. Just enough to keep the gribblies out of the toilet. You know what I'm saying?
And the dust bunnies, because I'm sure there's a lot around your house.
Yeah, a lot of, and just in general, a lot of filth. I live in a pigsty, so I need the housekeeper to come in. So I have this great service that comes in once a month, and they send a different lady every time, though.
Ooh,
and
switching it up.
Well, it would be great, but it's always like someone, our mom's age. It's like someone in her 60s. Mm-hmm. And so...
Tell me more.
They're always hot. But, no, so they're always excellent, really wonderful, nice ladies, so they come in, do it. So... I'm Wednesday. The housekeeper's supposed to show up at 1, 1:05, 1:10, 1:15. Nobody shows up. So I call the maid service, and they say, she's on her way. She's on your street. She just called us. She's running late. I said, no problem. I'm going to go downstairs, because I live in a condo. I'm going to go downstairs and meet her, just so she doesn't have to go through the buzzer and all that dumb stuff. So go downstairs.
I picture, though, you waiting for the housekeeper in a robe, half open, sitting on the couch.
Yeah, with my junk hanging out. Nothing trimmed, just a lot of pubes. Just a forest of pubes. No, I actually was clothed.
Okay.
So, walked out into the lobby of my building, and, lo and behold, lady walks up to the door. I open the door. I'm like, hello, are you here? You had a hard time finding the place. Come on in. She was about, 60, African-Canadian. She was seemed really nice, had glasses, had a bag over her shoulder, so I assume that was all, her supplies and stuff. So I'm like, great, come on in. So I'm like, the elevator's right behind here. So we walk onto the elevator, and I hit 3, and she hit 6. And I say, oh, you've been here before? She's like, I live here. Everyone in the building thinks I'm a racist now. I assumed the black woman was my maid.
Wow.
I was pretty bad. I was pretty embarrassed. So then I'm on 3, so it's not like a long elevator ride, but it seemed like the longest elevator ride of my life. She just looked at me, and I looked at her, and I was like, yeah.
Was there eye contact?
I'm really, really sorry about that.
Did you apologize again?
No, I just walked off. And
Did the right person actually show up?
yes, eventually she showed up. Yeah, she did show up. She talked. She was one of these ladies. The actual housekeeper. She talked to herself, and you don't know if I'm getting her
About
set up.
what?
Well, because the way this service works, you buy the supplies and then she cleans,
Right.
so it's a little cheaper because I'm cheap, and so. I'm like, okay, here's all the supplies. I've got it. I've got everything, and I kind of overbuy to make sure she doesn't run out of anything. And then she starts looking at it, and kind of talking, but I don't know if she's talking to me. That kind of situation. You're like,
no,
is this
I
one of those women who just has conversations with herself on the bus, and everyone's like, is she talking to anyone? Nah.
Was she an actual housekeeper, or was she a homeless person you just took off the street? Hey, they got a bag on the shoulder, so...
It's possible. It's possible. Anyway, gosh, I was so embarrassed, Toolsy. I really was.
I can't wait till you run into that woman in your building again.
Oh, that'll be great.
You and I went to lunch with. It was a very rare occurrence. We never see producer Tim out of the workplace, but we went for a pizza lunch with producer Tim. So I showed up on time. I'm a stickler for being on time, so I was there. I had lots of time. Went and got a Starbucks. Went into some shops, found a parking spot, no problem. I could have parked an airplane where I parked.
Yep.
It was a half a block from the restaurant. Tim, 10 minutes late, 20 minutes late. I think he was like 40 minutes late, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous. And then when he came in, he was so disheveled. It was as if he had fought a war.
Always wiping his brow. Traffic. Couldn't find a parking spot. I said, Tim, there's a million. He actually had to GPS where his car was. We weren't in downtown New York City. We were on Ossington in Toronto. Downtown Toronto, if you know it. It's not like right in the core. It's like it's away from downtown. There's homes nearby.
Yeah, there's so much residential street front parking, and by the way, everyone living in those houses is working. There's a million miles of parking right down the street from the pizza place.
So Tim, the entire meal was rattled, thinking he would never see his vehicle again.
Tim has some problems,
to say the least.
Now, on Wednesday night at work, Dan wasn't at work, but Natasha Stanishevsky was at work. And so over the course of the night, so I sit on the right, then Tim sits in the middle, and Natasha sits on the left in the newsroom. And so over the course of the night, Tim's having conversations with us, and I ended up I overheard a conversation that Tim started with Natasha.
You told me about this. I haven't heard it. I can't wait to hear it.
So I had to write the conversation down, and what we've decided to do is we have two of our best writers from the newsroom, and we've had them come in, and they're going to reenact this conversation for you, the podcast listeners. So Kara Wagland is here. Hi, Kara. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Great, and thank you for participating in this frivolous exercise.
I feel like I'm in the actor's studio.
Yeah, very much so. It's like a table read for a new sitcom or something. And then Marco Racuso, another one of our writers that we call the Prodigy, is here as well. Hi, Marco. How are you?
Good. How are you, Jay?
I'm okay.
I'm good too, Marco.
Hey.
That's probably only the second time I've said your real name, because we just go with the Prodigy.
The Prodigy, yeah, and we call you the Prodigy. I like to point out I gave him that nickname because when he started at the network, he was instantly one of the best writers at the network, better than all the other writers.
And the Prodigy you'd be great in a sitcom, because you'd be the character who just walks into the room, delivers their line, and leaves, because that's what the Prodigy does in the newsroom.
That's true. Leave him wanting more, right?
That's right.
Okay, so how's this happening?
Okay, so the Prodigy is going to play the role of producer Tim in this table read. And Kara's going to play the role of Natasha Stanishevsky. Now, I point out, this is a very, very short script, just 6 lines, so pay attention, everyone. So this is, imagine I'm going to set the scene, Wednesday night, approximately 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm sitting next to producer Tim and Natasha, and this is what I hear.
Natasha, are you going to go for the intentional bedhead look tonight?
What do you mean the intentional bedhead look?
Oh, man, I screwed that up already.
No, you didn't. No, you. It was great. Okay, start over.
Lines.
Yeah, that's good. You can improv a little bit.
Okay. Natasha, are you going to go for the intentional bedhead look soon?
What do you mean the intentional bedhead look?
You know, the intentional bedhead look. The one that's all the rage now.
It is?
Jennifer does it.
She does? I'm not sure that's exactly what she's going for.
And scene.
Wow. Oh, my. Just creepy.
A sexy basketball player?
First of all, how does Tim know the intentional bedhead look is all the rage now? Where does he get that information from?
I'm baffled.
On
and how did Natasha get up and just walk away?
Well, let's ask her. On the line with us right now, Natasha Stanishevsky from SportsCentre. Hi.
Hey. Hi. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So what did you do after that conversation?
Marco and Kara, that was awesome.
I'm so sorry, Natasha.
That was fine. That's kind of exactly how it went down. Well, I was just a little confused because I wasn't quite sure what he was getting at, really. Like I said, the whole intentional bedhead thing, I just didn't really understand what he was getting at.
Like, have you ever heard of that? Is that an actual thing?
I don't think that's a thing.
It is a thing, for sure.
Oh,
it has, messy hair.
But that's not what it's called.
Well, it's called the bedhead look. Yeah, I think so. But I don't think women who are on TV as anchors normally go for that look. I don't think.
Well, if you're working for producer Tim, he's going to want you to.
Well, yeah. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think if you asked Jen if that's the look she was going for, I don't think she would say that's what she was doing.
I think she'd be insulted and slapped him. That's what he needs.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
So, Natasha, you were recently in Brooklyn. You saw the new rink. How is it? Well, it's not in a rink form. It's an arena.
Yeah, not quite yet. It was great. It was really nice. People are really excited. That was a big thing that kind of stood out. There was a really good vibe to it, and all the workers were walking around, big smiles on their faces, and yeah, it was a fun night. It was good.
I heard various reports from it. I heard it's an arena. Even though they spent $1 billion on it, doesn't blow you away. Like, you don't leave it saying, wow, that was cool. We're talking about the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, by the way. Did you get blown away by it?
I was not blown away.
Okay.
And actually, even the sort of the pregame thing, I thought it was going to be a lot better. Opening night, that whole kind of thing. I was a little disappointed. I thought the Raptors opening night was way better.
You weren't impressed by the Brooklyn night?
I know that you've been all over this guy all week. Yeah, it was a little odd. But you know what? When they introduced him, the crowd totally cheered for him. I don't know if they were just being good sports, but they seemed to like him.
They're embarrassed for him. It's like when someone tells a joke, you got to laugh.
You know what? I saw him in the hallway downstairs after. I was walking past him, and he said hi to me, and it took me off guard because I didn't know if mascots were allowed to talk or not, right? So I was kind of like, I didn't really say anything. I just kept walking.
You should have just said, that was a rough one, eh? Ouch.
No, he was walking, with all kinds of confidence, very authoritatively. I think he was loving it.
Well, he's thinking, I'm the new mascot. I've got a gig for life.
There you go. Yeah.
You also said that they were under this impression that this arena is in a part of Brooklyn that's really cool and gentrifying, but that you and your camera guy, Paul, actually had to drive around for as long as producer Tim did to find a parking spot just to find somewhere to eat.
Yeah, there is no parking. There is one very, very shady underground lot with maybe 50 spots and two guys that don't really look very official, sort of like directing traffic. And we were sort of laughing because we were leaving the car there the whole day, and we thought if we come back at night and our car is still there, it will have been a good day because it was pretty dodgy, but it was still there. But once the Islanders are there, I think parking might be a bit of a situation.
You're not the first person to say that to us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Speaking of dodgy, this is completely off topic, but I always see people that the signs for people that buy your house for cash, but they're written in Sharpie. Are you going to sell your house to someone that's written a sign in Sharpie? Anyway.
If you're desperate, I guess.
You're talking about shady things. That's always been a pet peeve of mine.
The housing market is tough. You'll sell it to anybody, I guess, some people, right?
Well, every week there's something that gets to Toolsy. We got to come up with a segment for it.
Well,
Dan's statement met with silence.
Tanya, one of our camera operators, calls me old man O'Toole because
Toolsy's moment of silence. We're going with that.
I'm an old man trapped in a middle-aged man's body.
Yeah, she's disgusted. You know Tanya, Natasha. She's a nice person, but she is disgusted with Dan.
No, she isn't.
Yeah, she cannot stand you.
She just doesn't like my stories. Not a lot of people do. Thank God I've got a podcast.
I think she has given you some lip, actually, once in a while, if I think about it.
Oh, every night I work with her.
Yeah. Huh.
Natasha, how was your evening? You were out on maybe a date?
No, actually, I'm going right now.
Oh, you're heading out. Oh, you're going out.
Switch things around.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. A bit of a late night affair.
Are you going with the bedhead? Hey.
No bedheads. No, I've got a ponytail going tonight, actually.
Okay. Well, producer Tim will be pretty upset with you.
Tim is going to freak when he hears this podcast, by the way.
Yeah, probably. I know, Jay. I didn't believe you when you said we were actually going to talk about it. I wasn't sure if you were kidding or not.
Oh, yeah. No.
I should know better.
I think that went well. I think we're going to have to do a table read every week.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Bringing those two in to reenact. Yeah,
you know what? If we didn't know producer Tim, I don't think we'd have a podcast. Because we got story time with producer Tim. We really need to get out more. He's the only person that we associate with.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the newsroom, though. You could bring anybody in every podcast and have a conversation about some weird thing that went down.
That's true. Oh, yeah, totally. We're going to have Jamie Noodles McLennan on to talk about his book.
Ah, good.
Did you get a copy of Best Seat in the House?
I did not, but honestly, I've been meaning to get it and start reading it because I keep hearing how good it is.
Yeah,
have you guys read it?
Sounds like you're very busy because whenever I see Natasha and when we co-host together when you're away, because you're away a lot, Jay, Natasha says, I'm going to listen to the podcast one of these days. And then she's like two podcasts in, and this is podcast like number 8.
Yeah, you're right. I'm only 2 in.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, that's okay. That's good.
I'll get there. I'll catch up. Don't worry.
All right. Well, we'll let you go enjoy your date, Natasha.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. And maybe next week we can report back and see how your date went.
Okay, maybe. We'll talk about it.
Bye, Natasha.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Natasha
Bye.
Stanishevsky. We were also, we mentioned on SportsCenter last week we were going to have CFL Kate on. She's been stuck on a train for 80 days now.
That's right.
But she's busy, so we'll catch up with her on the next podcast because she's getting off the train one of these days.
What?
I think the train ends at the Grey Cup.
There's no way.
The train's going to pull up into the dome.
She gets off. She has one change of clothes. She looks like a hobo.
By the way, can we get tickets? I wouldn't mind bringing my oldest daughter to see some Biebs and some Carly Rae.
To go to the Grey Cup?
Yeah, she wouldn't want to see the football game. She just want to see the halftime.
Yeah, see Biebs. Well, I assume you have a ticket, don't you?
No.
You're a big star. You should have one. What kind of?
I don't even have Noodles' book.
What kind of sack company is this? Do people even know you work here?
Well, if they've seen our mail bunks, they do.
As long as it's not empty.
I'm terrified now about producer Tim because he listens to this after he listens to it on his long drive home.
I love it. I think it's great. Got a
You're
tweet
taking
here.
the heat.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Here's a tweet from @HaydenBTW. Are Pierre LeBrun and John Goodman brothers?
What?
They don't look anything. That's the worst comparison ever.
That is.
Pierre LeBrun, I said, hey, buddy, are we going to go cover the NBA Finals together? He said, yeah, sure, smiley face. I don't think Pierre LeBrun wants to go to the NBA Finals.
There's going to be hockey. I have no problem. I have.
Oh, yeah, you're feeling confident
no
now?
concerns, yeah.
Now we're going to have hockey?
I'm very confident.
I feel confident, too. That we
I
are
like
going
that
to have
nothing's
it.
getting leaked out.
Yeah, but apparently Wednesday night, things got a little perilous. It almost fell apart. So it's still a bit tenuous. Tenuous, not perilous. Sorry, everybody. Can we do 80s TV theme vault, Mike? Okay. I got, this has been a very well-received segment of the podcast.
Because it brings people back to their youth.
People like the 80s TV theme vault. One of the inspirations for this week's edition of 80s TV theme vault was this tweet we got from @T.Bowhunter. And it says, Jay, don't you think James Duthie looks like Blossom's older brother? Do you remember Blossom had an older brother who was an alcoholic?
No, I do not remember.
So her younger brother was Joey Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Whoa.
I don't remember that theme at all.
Oh, yeah. Well, get ready because you're about to hear the theme to Blossom.
Don't know about the future. That's anybody's guess. Ain't no good reason for getting all depressed. Fire up your pad and pencil. I give you a piece of my mind. In my opinion, nation.
Where did Punky Brewster fit into the mix? Did she get a offshoot of that, or is she her own show?
Punky Brewster?
Yeah.
No, it was like 10 years before this.
I don't know.
Not even the same universe. But Blossom was kind of a weird show because it was like a single dad, Joey Lawrence. Soleil Moon Frye was nowhere to be found in that.
So MASH got a spinoff from that?
You know what was a fact, though? Soleil Moon Frye ended up having huge...
You can't say
What?
that!
No, it's true. Like, you just never know who's going to develop massive jugs. And she did.
And it's Movember.
Yeah. Oh, before we get to that, though, we got one more TV theme.
I know. Well, I saw it on here. That's what I was doing.
Oh, that was your segue? Sorry, I screwed that up.
And I'm pretty sure in 1 week's time, with your mustache,
yeah,
it is the strangest design. You will not be allowed to enter a Toys R Us by yourself.
I think I look scarier than the actors on Sons of Anarchy.
Yes. Agreed.
It has, people are really genuinely getting frightened by it. Originally, I was kind of growing a shorter handlebar thing because you've got the long handlebars going.
You've got it going out to the sides
Yeah.
and then curling around your mouth.
Cebulski today said I look like a Batman symbol.
Buttman?
The Batman. And then we got this tweet from @WildEyes75. Jay, you should do the opening sequence of SportsCentre to the Magnum PI montage. Dan could play Higgins.
Magnum PI. What a theme song.
Oh, there it is. Now we break it down right here. What a life that guy was leading, eh? First of all, the whole concept of the show was so preposterous. He was a private investigator who lived in a writer's estate doing security for the estate, and then he was allowed to use the car. Oh, it just happens to be a red Ferrari.
And the writer never showed up, ever.
Robin Masters, you never saw him.
But Higgins
you assume,
was on top of Magnum.
But in the end, wasn't... Well, I shouldn't give it away. Maybe someone will want to go through the entire library of Magnum PI DVDs.
He sold a lot of Detroit Tiger caps.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
He
must have been pretty heartbroken at the World Series this year. Selleck.
We're going to try get...
You want to get
Selleck on.
Well,
for November, sometime in November.
Yeah, the problem is, I don't think Blue Bloods is a CTV show. Blue Bloods.
So, we had Jerry D on.
Yeah, that's a good
got
point.
A CBC show.
Yeah, but it's global. It's not CBC. We own the CBC. We're taxpayers.
And congrats to Jerry D. Just had another kid.
Wow, he reproduced. Big deal.
You're going to get us kicked off. This is also aired on the radio. I've never sworn once on this podcast.
What? You should start.
No. Don't want to sully my image.
Don't want to sully it.
Who are you again? I work here.
You didn't get a copy of The Best Seat in the House, but I did, and I read it, and I loved it. Its author, Jamie McLennan, NHL on TSN analyst, 17 years playing pro hockey, 11 in the NHL, and the only man I know who is full-on addicted to movie theater popcorn. Jamie, how are you?
I'm good, and I can't believe Dan didn't get a copy.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Noodles. You're dead to me.
You were on the list. I'm bringing you in one tomorrow.
Yeah, I've heard that line before. I swear you were on the list. You must have got lost.
It's like when Dan tries to get into nightclubs. Yeah, I was on the list. I was.
Or I see someone like a month after their wedding. Oh, we forgot to send it out and invite you. Yeah, sure.
That happens to me all the time.
Noodles, first of all, what made you decide to sit? Now, this is one thing we got to bring up. You co-wrote this book with Ian Mendez, who is an Ottawa-based reporter at another network we will not name. I know it'd be impossible for everyone to figure out.
Right.
But we're all Mendez fans. We get along with him great. He's a great guy. But how did you come to write the book with Ian?
Well, it all started actually my first ever night on the NHL on TSN. I think with about 30 seconds left, nothing. I think they must have told him to kill a little bit of time. We must have been stretching, and he just turned to me and said, "Do you ever eat on the bench?" And I said, "Yeah, I put a hot dog in my glove one time, but I got busted." So, it started there, and actually a literary agent reached out to me and said, "You should write a book." And it's funny, every time I'm out with my buddies having a few beers, I'm a storyteller. I love telling stories and just yucking it up with the boys. And so I knew I had enough stories. I just wasn't sure if I could put them all together to have a nice flow of a book. And enter Ian. I got paired with him through the literary agent, and he did a good job of kind of capturing my voice and putting the storyline together.
The old hot dog in the glove. That's how. That's how you end up with a baby.
That's true.
Another silence. Thanks. Token laughter. Usually Onright lets me hang out there and doesn't even attempt a chuckle.
But you would hate me more if I gave you fake laughs.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's nothing Dan hates more, Jamie, and you know this, when an athlete tells a really bad joke and the scrum of reporters around him laughs overly enthusiastically.
Yeah, because they're hoping that he actually will give them an extra scoop. They're like, "We laughed at your bad joke."
That's right.
No. They're thinking, we're buddies, right? We're buddies?
We're pals.
We are pals.
Now, Noodles, we call you Noodles, and I always think, do people wonder why you're called Noodles? And as I got into the book, like right early on, you addressed that nickname. Can you give our podcast listeners just a little backstory on that one?
I hated road dinners, and especially in junior out west. I mean, we traveled quite a bit. So you're on a 10-hour bus ride from Lethbridge to wherever, Brandon's even a little farther, and you stop at like this Mel's Diner, this like crappy little diner at the side of the road, and the team would spring for Salisbury steak and mashed potatoes, and it was just, you'd wash it down with gravy, and honest to God, every time it was like clockwork. Halfway through the second period, I could taste that steak in my throat, and I would be so nauseous. So I started bringing a crock pot, and this is like 22 years ago. So we had one plug-in on the bus, and I would plug it in. I would cook just Kraft dinner or just plain noodles, and some of the guys would stay on and eat with me. Other than that, they could go in for heartburn, and I would just stay on the bus and hang out.
Salisbury steaks, if you've never had one, they're overly seasoned. It's bad meat, and they're a staple of retirement home dinners.
And junior hockey 23 years ago. It was awful. And there used to be a place called Bonanza And it was like all you can eat for like, I don't know, $4. And you just eat yourself into a coma before you got into the game. It was awful. Those pre-games were terrible. Obviously nowadays it's about nutrition, but back then it was just about trying to get something in your stomach before the game.
You talk about all the goalies who've had an influence on you, and I love the fact that in the early part of the book, you name the fact that Billy Smith was your goaltender coach at one point in the American Hockey League. You were paired with Ron Hextall at one point, and then you get to the NHL and you get to back up Grant Fuhr. Can you talk about those three goaltenders? Obviously, you're dealing with severely different personalities with those three goaltenders.
Absolutely. I mean, you get to the Islanders training camp. I'm drafted by them. It's pretty exciting. And literally, Billy Smith is your goalie coach, and you're not sure what to expect from him. I mean, all you've seen is how he's behaved over his career and how he carries himself. And literally, my first interaction with him as a goalie coach is after I've got sent down to the minors. And I'm thinking I'm doing all right one night. We're playing in St. John's, the Toronto's farm team, and I get out after the first period. I'm skating down to the other end, and there's a mascot standing in the crease. It's a guy named Buddy the Puffin, this stupid mascot, and he's like waving his little wings or arms trying to put the hex on me. So I get down there. I'm thinking, okay, this guy's going to skate out, but he doesn't. He just kind of stays in my crease. I kind of push him to the side, and then literally, the crowd, gives it to me a little bit. The rest of the game, I stand on my head. I get first star. I'm pretty excited. I'm sitting there thinking, all right, I'm trying to impress my goalie coach. And I walk into the dressing room after the game, and he's sitting in my stall, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, he's going to give me a hug. He's going to do something. He drags me out into the hallway and reads me the riot act and says, don't you ever let an effing mascot stand in your crease again. And I was like, well, Billy, I just got first start. He's like, I don't care. If he's there on Thursday, you run him over.
Or two-hand him, because Billy would have just chopped him down.
Absolutely. But the terrifying part was we were playing 2 days later in the same building, same place. And I'm thinking, all I'm thinking is, I don't want to start. I don't want to play because I'm going to have to face this stupid bird 2 days later. And sure enough, leading up to the game, they tell me I'm starting, and I'm terrible. After the first period, I should have been pulled. It was literally, I'd allowed like four goals in the first period, and I guarantee you Billy Smith told Butch Goring, our coach, leave him in. I want to see how he deals with the bird. And it was like this conscious decision. As soon as I skated onto the ice, the bird was down there. And I skated 200 feet and buried the thing into the corner. And the best part is, and people don't know this, is you don't know who's in that costume. It could be an 85-year-old man or a 14-year-old girl. But either way, I was like, I'm not going to take it from this person. I buried the mascot, and I let in 7 goals that night. I was so rattled. I was terrible. The worst player in the building. After the game, sitting in my stall, Billy Smith, big smile on his face, takes me outside and says, that's how you become a man in this league. I'm like, Billy, I just allowed a touchdown. Didn't matter.
You take out mascots.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know what? I swear to God, that got me almost like in his good books. And then, fast forward a year and a half later, I'm playing with Hexie, who is basically a Billy Smith clone. And Hexie was, I have to tell people this, Ron Hextall's the best guy outside of the rink of hockey. He's very soft-spoken. He's a family man. But the minute he steps inside a rink, it was almost the transformation. You could see it. And he was always an inch away from losing it. But it was that type of intensity that you fed off of, and guys loved it. So, I mean, you go from one spectrum to the other, where Hexie would literally, as you walked into the rink, he's laid back, he's joking around. He walks inside to the rink, and you're done talking to him. It's just you're dealing with a glorified lunatic, but he was an amazing goaltender coach to play with, or goalie to play with. He was my first ever goalie partner in the NHL.
One vision of Ron Hextall that is permanently ingrained in my mind, and if you watched it, I'm sure it's in yours too, is when It was the Flyers against the Canadiens. Chris Chelios brought the puck in offside intentionally. Hextall lost it, went after Chelios.
Hextall goes barreling out at one of the Canadians, hitting high and hard.
And then when he got pulled out of the scrum, he had his tongue out of his mouth the entire time, just wagging it. It was the face of a lunatic.
Yes, that's what you knew of Ron Hextall. I mean, what's funny is Ray Ferraro was on that team, and Ray is very close with Hexy. They played junior together, and like Ray always chuckles that Hexy was the tough guy for their team in junior. He had like 100 penalty minutes that year as a goaltender, and even Ray used to tease him in practice. If you would score on Hexy in practice, he'd shoot the puck at you. And he used to fire pucks at Ray all the time. It was unbelievable. And that's just what Hexy was all about. He taught me as a young professional how to work. A lot of times you get by on your talent when you're a young hockey player, because everyone's always like the star from the team they come from. And then once you get to pro hockey, everyone's good. So you don't really have that work ethic. You rely on your talent. Well, Ron Hextall taught me how to work and add to the talent. And I'll always be forever grateful, because I honestly believe that he helped me become a very good pro.
And then you ended up playing with Grant Fuhr in St. Louis. You talk about a guy who he seemed so soft-spoken and positive at all times with the media. Is that how it was for you playing with him in the dressing room?
Absolutely. Like, what you see is what you get from Grant. Like, happy-go-lucky. There could be a building on fire right behind him, and he'd just turn around and kind of shrug it off. That's just how he carried himself was amazing. And I loved getting Grant going. At the back of the plane, I used to sit with Chris Pronger, and Grant sat right behind us. And, if it's a long trip, maybe you have a couple beers, but I always would try and get him going about, the Stanley Cups in the 80s and, some of the stories and stuff. But Grant, he would never bite. He would tell us a couple, but it was almost like it was that fraternity. He left it back there. But, I loved everything about Grant and the way that he handled himself. I'll tell you a quick story about an interaction between basically two Hall of Famers. Chris Pronger was playing for the Plus Minus Award that one year, and he had $1 million bonus. So if he won the Plus Minus, it was $1 million basically added on to his contract over the next couple years. So obviously every Plus Minus to him was very, very important. And we're losing 5-1, I believe, against San Jose or Florida. And with about 5 minutes left, and Fierzy allows a bad goal from like the corner. It just, the puck comes towards the net. He puts it in the net by himself, just accidentally. And Prongs is on the ice, and he literally breaks his stick over the glass and comes to the bench. And he yells at me. Of course, it's my fault somehow, but he turns and yells at me, and he says, "You tell him to wake the F up, or I will." And I was like, "Well, you tell him." And you could see Fierzy in the net laughing. And so he comes for the water break, the TV timeout. There's maybe 4 minutes left, and Chris is still fuming. And Chris looks at him and he says, "Wake up, Fierzy." And Fierzy just turns, I swear to God, mask up, just turns him while he's drinking his water, and he goes, "You better be nice to me. There's still 4 minutes left. I can allow a couple more of those if you want." And he skates away. And I'm literally thinking, there's an interaction between two Hall of Famers, two of the best players of all time, and one guy's fiery and ferocious, and the other guy's like, "Ho-hum, we're winning. We'll be all right." It was an amazing interaction to see how those guys handled themselves in pressurous situations.
Now, you broke into the NHL, Noodles, in the early 90s. Whenever we have a top 10 or we go back to old goaltending clips from like the 70s and 80s, the kick save, attempting to stop the puck with the side of your leg, was a very popular save attempt. Had that been out of the game when you came into the NHL? Because I just laugh. I'm like, that goaltending style just makes no sense.
You know what's funny is when I was a goalie growing up, I used to get in trouble when I went down. I would try and go down and make a save with my pad, and the goalie coach would absolutely read me the riot act and say, you stay on your feet. You're always flopping around. Stay on your feet. So when I look at the 70s and 80s goaltenders, and I look at Wayne Gretzky coming down the wall, and he takes a slap shot, and the goalie's at the bottom of the circle, and he falls over, you're thinking, oh my God, like in today's game, you're thinking that goaltender should continue to skate right to the bench because that was the worst play I've ever seen in my life. But that's how you were taught.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. You look at modern hockey, that's the biggest change between the 80s and the 90s. The players are bigger, stronger, faster, but the goaltending's better. And, the goaltenders are athletes now. They're not the chubby guy that you just throw a net to fire pucks at. And, that's kind of what it was. But I'll tell you, I was kind of near the end of that because all of my friends, including Jerome McGinley and the guys I played with, would tease me that I was the last of the stand-up goaltenders, and that's basically, I tried to hang in there right till the end of my career. I made a skate save one night in L.A., and the boys went nuts on the bench. They were yelling from the bench like old-time hockey. It was awesome.
Hey, Jamie, speaking of Jerome McGinley, who's one of your best friends, can you tell us, one of my favorite stories in your book is the McGinley bachelor party story, and it's not a dirty story, it's just a hilarious story about the pool.
Yeah, Iggy's, what you see is what you get from Jerome, unfortunately. I would love to tell a bunch of terrible stories about the guy, but there's really none. He's a good-hearted guy. But so we have his bachelor party. We did a couple days in L.A., a couple days in Vegas, and we head down to Vegas, and Iggy's best buddy is a guy named Bill from back home, and Bill always brings memorabilia. I need you to sign this for an uncle and whatever. So it's early Saturday morning, and we're just kind of shaking the cobwebs off, and some of the boys are down at the pool already, and Jerome, myself, and Bill are in our room, and Bill says, hey, Iggy, can you sign these? So Iggy signs them, and we're talking about the festivities for the day, and I said, Iggy, you should put your jersey on and go down to the pool. And he said, I guarantee you nobody would recognize me. And I said, Iggy, you're Jerome McGinley. Like, there's a ton of Canadians down here. You absolutely would be recognized. So we had a bet. I said, okay, you're buying beers if somebody recognizes you. So we have a little fun with it. We put our robes on. Iggy put sunglasses on and his own jersey. It says Jerome McGinley, captain, Calgary Flames. We go down to the pool. Right at the edge of the pool, Jerome drops the robe and does a complete lap, and the boys are going nuts. And as he goes around, nobody's recognizing him. And at the last seat, I swear to God, it was the last seat, the guy sits up and goes, hey, you do look like Jerome McGinley. Are you him? And we all went nuts, and obviously Iggy had to buy beers, but it was kind of neat because you saw a different side of Jerome having fun with it. He'd never be able to pull that off anywhere in Canada.
Absolutely not. No, one last thing we've got to ask you about. How many movies have you seen this week alone?
4.
What? It's amazing. So just a little backstory. You see literally every movie in the theater, and a lot of the crux of you going to films every single day is the fact that you really, really, really love movie theater popcorn.
Do you know how embarrassing it is that yesterday I went to see, I think it was called The Man with the Iron Fists or something, and I knew it was an hour and 33 minutes, and I was trying to squeeze it in before I had to head down to That's Hockey. So I knew I wasn't going to catch the whole movie, so I went and watched about an hour's worth. And it's not winning any awards, I will be honest. So I got my popcorn in, I got my fix for the day, and I took off. That's just how I work. Some days I get to watch the whole movie. Sometimes my time crunch doesn't fit the whole movie in. And if it's a good enough movie, I'll go back and watch it.
Are there regulars? Do you see people that are in the same predicament who go every day?
There's one guy, and he got nicknamed on TSN radio, Movie Bro, because I kept seeing this guy. But the guy, I don't want to compare myself to him, but the guy, I remember walking into him one time at like Varsity on Bloor theaters, and the guy was sleeping in the chair, and I swear to God, he had a hot dog on his chest and kind of like ketchup all over his face. And I was like, I keep seeing this guy around. And it was to a point where I think he was kind of on the same schedule as me. I mean, the guy's probably like an IT billionaire or something who just hangs out during the days. But I literally see this guy quite a bit. And it was to a point where I snuck around and people were asking me. I took a picture of him when he wasn't looking. But I kind of look like the creep now because I was like stalking the guy who was basically at the same movies as me many, many times. But I haven't seen Movie Bro probably in about a month. So I'm not sure if he's like back working or doing something different.
Hope Movie Bro's okay.
I already feel better about myself because I've never fallen asleep with a hot dog on my chest. Hey, doesn't the Colonel's popcorn in the malls, doesn't that taste the same?
No. And it's Cineplex and like all the movie theaters, like I enjoy like the actual movie popcorn to a point where I actually have one at my house. I bought like a theater-sized movie popcorn, like a street legal one. The guy, I went to like a restaurant, literally a restaurant distributor, and he's like, this is the only one that would be street legal for a house. So I don't know if they come with like exhaust systems or something, but I've got one of the only street legal ones that I would think I'm very proud of. I have it at my house.
The last team you played for, I'm just going through your Wikipedia here, and I believe everything I see on Wikipedia.
Of course.
Your last team was the Nippon Paper Cranes?
Yes, in Japan. It was unbelievable. You think about it, you get to... the way I looked at it is I was retiring anyways, and I went on a paid vacation and got to play 2 games a week. And there were 4 teams in Japan, 2 in Korea, and 1 in China. And the team was so bad in China that my team said, you don't need to dress. Like, you can sit in the stands for this one. So I went and took warm-up, and then I went and sat in the stands and watched our team play China. And basically, the weirdest thing about that experience was the goal judge was smoking during the game. So literally, you're in net and you turn around and the guy's hacking a dart, and he had the ashtray on the ledge of the boards while he's holding like the goal judge, like the light behind the goalie.
It's like Guy Lafleur in the 70s.
Exactly. It was old-time hockey. I mean, it was amazing. I loved the whole culture of Japan. I was over there for 4 months, and that's a country I would go back any time. I mean, it's kind of a male-dominated society. They really, really cater to you, but I absolutely loved it.
Well, Jamie, the book is called The Best Seat in the House by Jamie McLennan and Ian Mendez, and you can pick it up now in bookstores everywhere or order it on Amazon.com.
It's not on your Wikipedia page, so you got to go in there and update that.
Yeah, I got to go in there. Whoever writes that has really written some false things about me, but
it's probably Ferraro. Ferraro probably did it.
He probably is him. He really gets after me on a daily basis.
I highly encourage, the thing with a book like the one Jamie wrote, you have a brother or a dad or someone you need to buy a Christmas gift for, and you're like, what? They're the hardest people to buy for, right, Toolsy? Like, you don't know what to get them.
Right.
Like, you've got 2 brothers. Boom, done. Buy a couple of copies of this bad boy, put it in their stocking, you're finished. It's over.
I don't buy them presents. So,
okay, well, that's not going to help Jamie at all, is it? Jamie, thank you so much for joining us, and continued success on TSN. And what do you think of Gino's stash? What do you think of his stash so far?
You're killing him.
Yeah,
I actually was in the office today, and I saw a flash of you, and I was like, oh my God, like, you're on fire.
Yeah, it's
actually consuming your face though. Like it's all over. I love it.
So Onright could essentially, if he let everything grow on his face, he could be like one of those wolf boys. Their face is just all hair
from his eyeballs down.
It would be a huge improvement, I think.
Yeah, I think you're definitely a few steps ahead of Gino. Gino's battling though. I will say this: he'll fight hard.
He's a
but
crafty
right now
vet.
you're winning.
I appreciate that, Jamie. Thanks for joining us on the podcast, my friend.
No problem. We'll talk to you guys soon.
That's Noodles, Jamie McLennan. Again, we didn't do the reminder of who we were talking to.
What do you mean?
Remember I mentioned that last podcast, like on the radio, when you have a guest on, you say, we're speaking with Jamie McLennan.
Oh, right.
I always forget to do that. By the way, you brought up my brothers again, and my brother Vince texted me this week, and he said, you should have a segment on the podcast where Jay calls Sean or I to fact check.
I should. That's a great idea by Vince. I should do that. Because I have a feeling that a lot of your facts would be incorrect. Is it time for story time with producer Tim?
That sounds about right.
So again, as you pointed out, we've talked about producer Tim and his creepy conversations in the newsroom. And now it is time for the latest edition of Story Time with producer Tim.
Can you tell me a bedtime story?
The only time that I thought for sure we were going to be missing an anchor for a show was during this year's Craft Celebration Tour when Dan accidentally poured peroxide in his eye. I thought his eyeball was looking like it was going to fall right out. But he trooped on and did the show.
He didn't say the end. He's supposed to say the end. Yes, you were sitting right next to me. This was the first stop in Clarenville, Newfoundland. Our bus still had not arrived, and we always write the show on the bus because there's couches and stuff. So we were in a Ford Edge in the front seat writing the show on our Blackberries, and I said, okay, I better, because I wear glasses most of the time because I have contact issues, which is pointed out on a daily basis on SportsCentre because my eyes are always red. I'm not smoking the reefer.
You really, because we do these mustache updates, these Movember updates at the end of the show now, so we get really close up to our faces, and yeah, you look like you're a young Cheech Marin, 1978.
I don't get it. People are obsessed. Why are your eyes so red?
They're excited. They think you might be a stoner.
Is it heavy stuff, man? Will it blow me away?
I took out my contact case and I put it in my contact, and it was like I just put battery acid in my eye. You were sitting there and you couldn't do anything. You're looking at me and I couldn't get the contact out. If you've ever put a contact in that has the wrong liquid on it, you know exactly what I was going through because that's the only time you can't get the contact out of your eye. We were parked right next to the ocean, so I ran to the ocean and was cupping ocean water and cupping it into my eyeballs. And there was seaweed and dirt.
Peroxide, like actual peroxide.
Here's the thing. There's a cleanser that you can get. It's in the exact same bottle as the regular contact solution, but the tip of the bottle is red. That's the only thing that distinguishes it from the other bottle. That's not the peroxide.
Just the tip. Just the tip.
You leave it in this peroxide for 12 hours, and then you clean them with the other stuff and let it sit in that for like another 12 hours, and then you can put it in your eyes. I put the peroxide-soaked contact directly in my eye, and yes, it looked like my eye was going to disengage from my face.
Yeah, we were worried. Like Tim said, there was a genuine concern that you were not going to make the show.
Can we get one of those laser centers to sponsor a part of the podcast?
Yeah, why don't you get LASIK? Why don't you get laser eye surgery?
I'm kind of scared. You can smell your eye burning, I hear. Well,
it smell better than whatever is going on over on your side of the studio right now.
Hey, it's all good. Yeah, it is. I got another waft of it when we were talking to Jamie McLennan.
It's clearly you.
It's not.
You smell.
Dan Filcher.
I have 2 showers a day. I shower when I get up, and then I shower before I come into work. I'm very clean.
Why do you do that? You're hanging around with little kids all day. They have no clue what's going on.
It's part of my ritual. That's what I do.
Your regimen.
And then we have to do the mark of the day.
Okay. Yeah. Very good.
I was given one by a friend of ours, but it would have been impossible. I guess the Undertaker's real name is Mark something. You would never have got that.
Would never have gotten that one. Like I said to you, Steve Hall, Kevin Nash, I can get those ones, but those guys aren't named Mark.
Okay, so let's see if we can get this Mark of the Week.
When there was the electric guitar craze really hit, a lot of the kids, so many kids wanted guitars, and so many kids couldn't afford them, and actually some of the boys in my school
Okay.
I'm going to say, I hope it's this guy. Is it Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits?
Yes.
You are our winner.
Very well done.
That guy's unbelievable.
Money for nothing.
You know what's funny? I just bought that album again on iTunes, and it sounds magnificent. to this day. What a great record that is.
Weren't you going to buy a record player, a real record player?
Yes, I bought a vintage 70s receiver, and so I'm going to buy a vintage record player to go with it because it just sounds warmer. I think they were built better in the 70s. But yeah, I'm going to have some records.
And then you can probably pick up like an entire collection of records for like $100.
Pretty much can, especially where I live in Kensington Market. There's like a record shop every two. You pretty much just need a milk crate full of records, and that's a quote-unquote record shop in Kensington Market.
A lot of dudes down there. Dude. You have not said dude since you went on your dude extravaganza.
Well, as you pointed out.
That doesn't sound right. Your dude extravaganza.
Dude, just the tip.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
As you pointed out, I don't actually say that in real life that much. I don't know what happened to me there. I think I was just frightened by that whole experience.
So thanks for listening to the podcast.
Episode 8 was a blast.
And so thanks for subscribing on iTunes. Thanks for listening on TSN Radio. I hear we're on TSN Radio twice. Is it TSN Radio or the Team in Vancouver? Is it... It's the Team. It's played twice a week now.
We're on TSN Radio all across the country, and then tsn.ca/podcasts.
We're on prime times, like 6 a.m. in Montreal.
Oh yeah, 6 a.m. Saturday morning when everyone's up, gathered round their phonograph, listening to radio programs with the family. Everyone's up. They've showered. Can we just say to Christoph Momona and to Mike Gentili, those are the guys who really put this podcast together. Like those guys are awesome, and they run the show. Mike's our producer, and Christoph's our technical producer. Is that the correct term? What would you prefer?
Why not, eh?
Okay, good.
And another thing, sorry, this is just top of my mind. An American friend I met the other day, he asked about the poppy, why I was wearing one of these, and I explained it to him. I'm so proud of Canadians that we have this tradition.
Absolutely.
For Remembrance Day.
There's a lot of people
the Americans
on Twitter.
don't do that.
I totally agree with you, Dan. And a lot of people on Twitter are kind of commenting on the fact that not enough people are actually wearing poppies in public right now. It's so easy to do. Just, buy a handful of them. Sure, you'll probably stab yourself in the finger at some point.
Or in your nipple.
Or right in your got stabbed by a poppy pin.
But it's, I love it when you walk into a place.
I know.
It like 85% of the place is wearing them. So that's so cool.
Yeah, I really like that tradition. It's obviously our veterans need to be acknowledged for all the sacrifices they made. So yeah, I agree with you. Wear your poppies and hit us up on Twitter at JandDanTSN.
Because without the veterans, we wouldn't have Twitter.
No, Twitter wouldn't exist.
Podcast, nothing.
No. Wouldn't have my dude extravaganza. Dude, at TSN O'Toole, at Jay Onright.
And at Jay and Dan Podcast? Is that
at Jay and Dan TSN. At Jay and Dan TSN. Send us your feedback. We really enjoy getting your feedback.
Yeah, we as you can tell, we are kind of both addicted to Twitter. So if you have suggestions for the podcast, we like to talk about them. And I like doing my Twitter voice. And if you don't agree.
But that's like everything. Like if you get mad at Tim and then you tell a story about him later, Tim's voice is always like, why did you do that? That's not what I wrote.
Have a great week.
Love you guys.
And buy some Mark's Perfectly Pressed pants. They'll look great on your bum.
They're going home.
Dance. 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 Keep dancing.
All my friends, you're the low rider.
Brought to you by Mark's Never Iron Perfect.